After reading Aristotle's book named Metaphysics, I have came to a better understanding of reality and the essence of the external world. In the book, Aristotle um, talks about a mindset that consists on perceiving the first causes and principles of concepts, objects, and ideas. By applying this mindset, uh, you can get to the roots, the essence of those ideas instead of um, focusing on the details on what your senses register. It is a more intuitive kind of thought. You need to rely more on intuition in order to practice this kind of mindset and less on senses. And this this mindset from Aristotle was actually a definitive mindset that later other philosophers, scientists, and people that laid that created the foundations of the of the contemporary system world um, practice this kind of thinking. So you realize how important this kind of mindset is. You know, the majority of people, the majority rely on the senses in order to understand and interpret reality. They register information with the senses. That includes immediate sensory experiences or past experiences. So when making a life decision or when interpreting the information, uh, and in order to understand reality, they rely on their life choices, on their life, on their past choices, on their past events, past experiences. And that's kind of primitive and limited if you think about it, because each human has a subjective, particular experience very different from others. So, two humans in the same era from different countries are not going to have the same worldview, the same view of the world, because they live different experiences. And it could be logical to think that in order to fix that and understand the world, you need to live a lot of experiences. You need to go to there, to there, to there, to this country, to this. But no, actually, no. Actually, no, because you're still limited by your subjective perception, your past experiences, your traditions, your cultural values, your religious beliefs. So it is it is improbable that you're going to understand reality and have a solid worldview if you rely on your past experiences or your immediate experiences. So what should I one do in order to understand reality, the world? What if my system of the world, my worldview, it's actually artificial or wrong? Well, Aristotle said that you have to practice abstraction. You have to practice an abstraction of things, a classification of things, systematizing of things in sets, in categories, abstract categories of thought. When you practice this constantly, you start taking shortcuts. Instead of having multiplicity of information, you take shortcuts to information that it's more synthesized. It's synthesized, but explains a lot of the bigger picture. So when you practice first causes and principles, you also develop skills of synthesis. Instead of relying on the infinity of eventualities and information of the experiences, you begin to create a pattern of thought that recognizes patterns and the most probable pattern with an abductive reasoning, the most probable pattern is the definitive. The most repetitive pattern is the definitive conclusion or idea synthesis about the reality and the world. So this is a kind of thinking that philosophers and scientists practice. You need abstraction. You need to rely more on your intuition and not trust so much on your senses, on your experiences, on your past experiences, on your traditions, on your religious beliefs or cultural values. You start to ask fundamental questions. Why are things there? What is the first cause of that thing? For example, if I'm attending a social setting, instead of just saying, oh, life is this way and I have to adapt. No, I prefer to reflect and think, what am I seeing? What is this? What's the first cause of this effect, of this thing that is happening, this kind of socializing, this kind of um, this kind of traditional values. So I go to books and I start to read sociology, and I begin to realize that there are social institutions that are the first cause of those effects, of those people following them blindly. So you understand the first causes of that sociological system. And that happens not only in the interaction with people, but in the interaction with matter, which is in far more interesting. Which is in fact more interesting. So in the case of the interaction of matter, you need to go to physics and mathematics and start classifying patterns of the infinity of eventualities of the world, and start understanding reality in its first causes and principles. It's an interesting mindset. When you practice it, you become less focused on the details and more focused on the ideas, on the world of ideas, on the first causes of the things. Think, for example, your computer, and visualize all the electronics, all the first causes and principles that happen before that effect is there. So that's the mindset. It's about thinking. It's about using your intuition. And this mindset, in my personal experience, has led me to incredible realizations and insights over the world. And these kind of insights are very esoteric, very, very, very deep. And yeah, I have exercised these from some years ago, and I understand a lot more about reality. So when you understand reality first in theory, you can practice and apply that theory in a better way. For example, an engineer has to know mathematics and physics, has to know the first causes and principles first. So that's what I say. It's not just relying on your experiences, but on your intuition and on the classifying of patterns, of abstract patterns of thought, of the external phenomena. And if you do that for a while, you will get to the essence of reality. My conclusion, my subjective experience with this intuition was that the ultimate causes of reality are in these four fields: Taoism, Hermeticism, physics, and psychology. That's all for me, for my own interpretation and my own experience with this classifying of patterns. So that's the video. This is a mindset that Aristotle applied, and many philosophers and scientists, and all the people that created the foundations of this system of the world applied. And no, it's not just living by your experiences. It's knowing first the essence of all the eventualities. You take a shortcut and understand things in the essence, in the roots, in the first causes, and then you can apply it. Then you can practice.